Since he made the widely acclaimed Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan's films have gone from being mere movies to being events. Each one seems to grow in magnitude and complexity, in anticipation and prestige. This has been, I believe, both a blessing and a curse for him, because it means he can never really go back to the smaller scale but still significant projects like Following or Memento. He's always going to have to go bigger, and that ambition might one day consume him entirely. And that brings us to Oppenheimer, one of his most ambitious films to date. Most of us know about, or are at least familiar with, the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the so-called father of the bomb. Here, Nolan gives us an account of both the creation of the nuclear bomb and its consequences. Not just for Oppenheimer himself, but for the world and society as a whole. I've heard some describe this as a horror film, and in many ways I would agree. It's scary to consider the Manhattan Project, which was designed specifically to create a weapon that could destroy entire cities and wipe out tens of thousands of lives in an instant. The film acknowledges this and constantly reminds us of how the closer the bomb was to being completed, the closer it was to being used. And when it's tested in one of the most talked about scenes in the film, I was actually gripping the arms of my chair. The story demonstrates the vastly different reactions people had to the success of the detonation. From shock, to surprise, to elation, to despair, to confusion. The success of the film as a whole rests largely on the shoulders of Cillian Murphy, a veteran supporting actor being given the chance to shine in a leading role, and he absolutely nails it. Oppenheimer was a complex character, and Murphy's performance perfectly captures this. He was a man of many paradoxes, a gifted teacher and intelligent academic that jeopardized his position for political reasons he never fully understood. An upright family man who neglects his wife and child. He's constantly conflicted about his role in developing the bomb, reasoning that it's essential to secure victory in the war, but it'll come at the expense of countless innocent lives, and he's working under government officials who see the weapon as a means to an end, regardless of the human cost. It contains a few problems that are somewhat common in Nolan's work. Some of the dialogue is very on the nose, with characters speaking in movie trailer lines rather than how an actual human being would talk, and the sound balance is all over the place. The score by Ludwig Göransson adds a lot of emotion to the story and tension to the pivotal scenes, but it also drowns out countless lines of dialogue. And in a film with this much talking, I don't understand how that can be deemed acceptable. The film is 3 hours long, and the first two acts are the most compelling. When we get into the section where Robert Downey Jr. takes centre stage as the AEC chairman trying to revoke Oppenheimer's security clearance, things begin to drag. It feels like the same argument is being had and the same point being made again and again. I have nothing against courtroom dramas, but it feels somewhat out of step with the rest of the story. If the whole thing had been trimmed by half an hour or so, it would have been much more manageable. Ultimately, Oppenheimer is quintessential Christopher Nolan. Big ideas, a grand scale, stunning visuals, and a powerful score. It's a film that was made for the big screen. It's not perfect by any means, but if you've been wanting to get out to the cinema again, Oppenheimer is the kind of movie that'll make the effort worthwhile.